This time, at the Spitfire Factory. Everyone is counting down the days to the biggest event of the year, the Biggin Hill Air Show, with their Spitfires due to take the starring role.
If it's a lousy display, then it doesn't look very good, so I'm conscious of the fact that it needs to be right.
Ground Crew Chief Ray takes time out to meet one of his 1940s counterparts.
We used to go to work with a collar and tie on.
That's another thing I'm going to talk to him about on Monday.
You never went...
Getting a collar and tie. Gladys did, look.
And the Greek Spitfire restoration team finds itself under intense pressure to get the aircraft's wings clipped.
How's it going?
Not bad. Just trying to get the wingtip on so we can get it in the spray shop.
There's 10 days to go until the Biggin Hill Air Show. But before preparations can begin, Peter Monk's engineers have their work cut out on the most important build of the year.
On Monday, I managed to get a slot in at the paint facility on the airfield where they can take this aircraft in and paint the wings. They're always very busy and it's difficult to get things done to fit our schedule.
But the wings aren't ready, so Peter's got all hands on deck.
That will cost us severely in time, so we've got to get it in the paint shop for Monday.
Their Greek Spitfire is a 1943 Mark IX that fought in the Greek Civil War. After 19 months' work, the main fuselage has been completed and painted, and the wings have been attached, but they're having problems finishing them off. For most restorations, new wings are built from scratch, about a 6-month job. On this aircraft, the wings are in good enough shape to restore, but that's much harder, and they've been at it for over 10 months. The boss's son, Alex, has been repairing one of the ammunition boxes.
In here would be the 303 ammunition boxes and the Browning machine guns that would have been fitted outboard, and this is the access door. The door itself's original. We had to put a new hinge on it, which is what making this bit here, but all the rest of it, all around it's all original, so it's quite cool.
Another part of the wings is proving a whole lot trickier. Notice something missing?
This particular Spitfire has clipped wingtips, so from it just fares off this opening at the end of the wing. Now, the original ones are beyond use. We've got to either fabricate some more or source some others.
As the role of the Spitfire changed during the war, the perfection of the elliptical wing was sacrificed for improved performance. Even on existing aircraft, the wingtips could easily be removed and replaced with much smaller squared-off tips, reducing wingspan by 4 feet. It was found these clipped wings had great advantages at low altitude. They improved stability, speed, acceleration, and roll rate, all of which made the Spitfire better equipped for a new ground attack role. But Peter doesn't have any usable Mark IX clipped wingtips.
Now, I've managed to find a pair that we fitted to a Spitfire a number of years ago. Now, the owner of that particular Spitfire wants to return it to the original full wingtip, which he's already done. So that's made the old wingtips that we need available. If they do fit, it's going to save us at least a week's work.
Alex is dispatched to pick them up.
I only thought about it this morning. He was happy as a pig in shit when I told him we might have a use for them. He said, "How much are they worth?" And I said, "Well," you know, thousands. He said, "Really?" I said, "Well, dig the invoice out. You can see what we charge you to make them." And I offered him a profit on what we paid because they are so valuable to us right now. But I'm just fingers crossed that they fit.
Peter's wingtip hunt buys the team some extra time to finish the panelling.
This is the original panel. What we've got, we can see all the original markings from manufacturer. Just these little stamp marks on each piece is individually stamped. Unfortunately, just the row of the holes is literally half a hole out on the structure of the wing. So we've had to make new to make it fit.
1 hour later.
Ah, well done. That's what we've been waiting for. Thanks very much, and we'll see whether they fit. Come on.
For Peter, it's like the return of a pair of old friends.
Now I know, because that's green, that's this side. Right, moment of truth then.
If they fit, Peter and the team can still make their paint shop slot.
That goes there, I would think. There. I would say that we've got every chance. You've got your strip there, yeah. That lines up, there's the join. Perfect, yeah. I'm dead chuffed with that, I tell you.
It's good and bad news for the team. Now they can be ready for the paint shop on Monday. But only if everyone works through the weekend.
You know you like working weekends, Jake.
Yes, on the record. Back on Sunday, so.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'll be in Sunday.
A weekend getting paid to build a Spitfire? How bad could that be? Meanwhile, factory tour guide Austin is getting in the mood for the upcoming air show.
Our Battle of Britain Spitfires were firing that. Our friend here was firing something like this. So they say size doesn't matter. Well, it does in this case. Look at that. On our Battle of Britain Spitfire, which is actually outside, 1,200 rounds per minute. But the problem is you can only carry so many rounds in that very thin profile wing. I'm trying to convey in my tours is, you know, what the men did, how they fought, how young they were, what kind of stresses they're going through, how they used to enjoy themselves, and to convey how important these guys were in the defence of the UK. If 4 or 5 of them hit you, it's devastating. It will probably bring the aircraft down. It will leave a hole like that. That gives you an idea what we're up against.
Since moving here 19 years ago, Austin's become a bit of an expert on Biggin Hill's wartime history. And according to him, there's no better place to study than at the local pubs.
So I'm standing in Bracestead Village, just a few miles away from Biggin Hill, and just over there is the famous White Hart pub. This pub was one of the favourite drinking holes of the pilots in the war. I understand it was a very good pint of beer in there. Kathy Preston, the landlady, kept a good pint.
Inside, the pub oozes wartime history. The walls are lined with photographs and mementos.
At the top here, Johnny Johnson, our #1 fighter pilot. Here you have Neville Duke, also an extremely good fighter pilot, but also a test pilot, so the Speed King, as we called him.
A blackboard display includes dozens of pilots' signatures.
That's incredible. So you probably have got the cream of the crop here. George Burley, Colin Gray, Bob Tuck's name here, one of my personal heroes.
Bob Tuck was a veteran of Dunkirk and the Battle of Britain.
There's actual Bob Tuck sitting in a Hurricane, and you can see, I think he's got 21 kills here underneath the Hurricane cockpit there. Ended up on nearly 30 confirmed kills, and #6 highest scoring pilot. Brilliant pilot. I mean, you've only got to look at him. It's the archetypal pilot, you know, the cheeky grin, the Errol Flynn moustache.
What would you like to drink?
Cider, please.
Austin also loves to share his knowledge with the locals.
So, you working behind the bar here, do you know anything about this pub or the history of the pub?
I don't know much.
We had a pilot up there called Robert Stanford Tuck. What happened was he'd been on morning patrol in his Spitfire. He landed the aircraft and he was absolutely bursting for a drink. So what he did is, him and his friend, they got on motorbikes, which were full of aircraft fuel. So when he got into the pub, he said, "Kathy, pour me a pint of bitter," and I think you've got bitter here.
Yeah, we do.
And she poured the pint of bitter. Then the next thing you know, the telephone rings in the pub. And she went, "Bob, it's for you." Well, obviously Bob was worried because no one should know he was here.
Right.
And as he picks up the phone, he hears this voice saying, "Bob, I know exactly what you're doing. Get your backside up to the airfield right now." So he took another sip of the beer, put it on the bar, like I've just done. And he said to Kathy, he said, "Do not throw away the pint. I'll be back." He shot up to the airfield, got into his aircraft, took off and shot down 2 Messerschmitt 109 fighters, then landed and then got straight back on a motorbike and straight down to the pub and finish the pint.
Bob Tuck was one of around 150 pilots stationed at Biggin Hill during the Battle of Britain.
They're young men, but they're young men who are living fast and dying fast. You know, you would think this could be my last day on planet Earth, and it probably was for a lot of them. So, you know, they would come down here, they'd enjoy themselves tremendously.
Tuck was later shot down over France, and after 3 years as a prisoner, he survived the war. Many others, of course, did not. Monday morning. 5 days to go until the air show, and it's crunch time for the Greek Spitfire restoration team. Are they ready for the paint shop?
The weather's closing in. It's just started to rain, and we don't really want to get it wet. We really want to get it there today, and we don't want to miss it.
But they're still hard at it.
You're going all right, Alex? Last couple of screws going in by the looks.
Words of encouragement are needed.
You all right then, Gary? Nearly there?
Yes.
Gary is making sure the newly installed undercarriage is ready to roll.
You comfortable up there, Richard?
And the new wingtips still aren't quite there. Chief Engineer Franco is on the case.
How's it going?
Not bad.
Good for today, though, aren't we?
Hopefully, yeah, a couple of hours we should be ready.
Good. I'm happy with that.
Franco is using temporary fasteners and a bit of very gentle drilling to try and line up every hole before he can rivet.
Just this lens is quite delicate, and you know, one slip and it'll crack, and then I will be in the poo. So I'm just trying to be very gentle around this perspex bit. One screw up means the whole thing's messed up.
2 hours later, the Spitfire has landed.
Put a bit of air in the rear tyre because she's a bit flat, but it's the first time that the whole aircraft has actually sat on the floor on its own wheels.
The weather has cleared and she's on her way. Another member of the Spitfire Factory team with a passion for history is Ground Crew Chief Ray. Today, he's going to meet someone who did a similar job 70 years ago.
We're going to meet Gladys Unsworth today. She's I'm not quite sure what to expect with her today because she's a female flight engineer from the Second World War, and I never even knew they existed. Their day-to-day job was getting those aircraft ready, getting those aircraft safe, because ultimately it was their responsibility to make sure that that aircraft was 100% combat ready.
During World War II, over 250,000 women joined the Women's Auxiliary Air Force. At first, they mainly worked as clerks, orderlies and drivers. But as the war progressed, many were trained for more skilled roles.
Hello, Gladys.
Hello, dear.
Now 93, Gladys grew up in London and was 14 when war broke out.
The reason I've come here, Gladys, is the job I do, I'm lucky enough to work around Spitfires.
There is something very beautiful about that aircraft in the sky. She's got to be in the sky, though.
Well, that's true. Otherwise, you're wiping oil off it, aren't you? And it's not so beautiful then, is it?
Yeah, but she's beautiful in the sky.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, especially when they tip it, so that you've got the clear sky behind the aircraft. Oh, she's my favourite.
Is it? And they're not so beautiful when you're wiping all the oil off
They're not.
Gladys used every trick in the book to get the best out of the Spitfire.
We were washing the underside of the Spits with fuel.
You were cleaning undersides of Spitfires with fuel to make them go faster, to make them more going through the air quicker.
And the petrol dropped into your eyes.
They leak like a sieve, don't they?
We used to say it made your eyes sparkle from when you went out at night. They didn't even give us goggles.
No. Well, I don't get goggles either, so we haven't moved on a bit.
When Gladys was 18, the sewing factory where she worked was bombed, so she decided to join up.
I went to join up to the Land Army.
Right, yeah.
They looked at me because I was so small And they said no, and they took my mate, they didn't take me. So I went along and I thought, well, I'll do something, and a Dastra house came up and I walked in. All they asked me was, have I ever mended a bike?
And you said yes,
remember
obviously.
that. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Oh,
So you could mend a bike, so you become a flight mechanic. So it's just like that. You just thought,
like that.
I'll go and
I
do
went
that.
home and told my mum.
I have to say, Gladys, I was looking at these photos and just rifling through, it's not hard to see who you are in that
Yeah.
lot. It is most definitely, that's you.
Yeah.
And that's you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I've got to tell you,
see.
I've got to tell you, Gladys, you're a bit of a looker, actually.
Oh, God, no.
No, oh, God, yes, I think so. That's you.
Yeah. See how little I am
Yeah, I
compared
can.
to the others.
No, I can.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take these back to my hangar because I'm going to go and see my engineers and my fitters and my flight engineers and whatever and say, guys, I've got to tell you, that's who used to work on Spitfires, and I'd rather be working with someone like that than you lot. They're a bunch of gorillas, they really are.
We used to go to work with a collar and tie on.
You did? So that's another thing I'm going to talk to them about on Monday. Come on, boys, get in a collar and tie. Gladys did. Look, you look great.
In 1944, Gladys was posted to RAF Hawkinge in Kent, servicing planes flying missions over France and Germany.
Were you doing checks? Checking that it was mechanically sound?
Yes.
So tyre
yes.
pressures, things like that?
Tyre pressures, yeah.
What about things like brakes and hydraulic fluid and things
Yeah,
like that? Did
yeah.
you get involved in checking any of that?
No, because the men used to do it.
Right. But when you're saying that you were just there for the men, you know, I do think you're undervaluing what you were doing.
Very likely.
Yeah. We shouldn't.
Just
3 miles from the coast, the base was being shelled from France.
When we went to Hawkinge, they were shelling. Actually, I think we had a shell. We were shelled the night I was posted there.
They were shelling Dover, weren't they?
Yeah.
Dover and Folkestone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously at Hawkinge, you're right on
Yeah.
Folkestone there.
Absolutely.
So how did that feel?
We were used to the bombing in London.
So I suppose that was small fry then, was it? Being
Yeah.
shelled on the coast?
Yeah.
You should listen to yourself, Gladys.
After the war, Gladys married an RAF engine fitter, hung up her overalls and started a family. Back at the hangar, Ray finds he is left with as many questions as answers.
I think she very, very much downplayed her role as an aircraft mechanic. She almost sounds as if she didn't feel she was that important of a cog in the great big, in the whole mechanics of the whole thing. She wasn't peeling the potatoes, she wasn't handing out cups of tea, she was working on combat aircraft. You were more important, my love, than you ever make out to be, in my mind.
It's hard to imagine what life was like for people stationed at frontline airfields during the war. Many like Gladys still teenagers. But in 2 days' time, the annual celebration of what they achieved will begin. Down in the hangar, no one's taking it easy. While the Greek Spitfire is at the paint shop, there's still plenty to do. This is Alex Monk's first full restoration. And today he's preparing components for the next stage of the build.
So in my hand right here I have one of the pair of rudder pedals that go in the Greek Spitfire that I'm working on. So these are what you put your feet on down at the bottom of the cockpit, and you use these for steering the aircraft on the ground and keeping it straight in the air. Before I did this, I looked at an original rudder pedal assembly to work out exactly how they go together. So I want a pair of bolts. I know normally you put a washer always under a nut. That's sort of the rule of thumb, but these ones are actually designed not to have a washer in place.
Inside a Mark IX Spitfire, the flight controls use old-school mechanical systems. The control column and pedals connect via chains, rods and cables running through the fuselage and wings to operate the ailerons, elevator and rudder.
So it's got a star shape here, and this is how you would adjust the rudder pedal with your foot, because you kick this with your boot like that, and then depending on anti-clockwise or clockwise, there's a screw in here, and it moves this up and down to adjust the length. So if someone's shorter or taller, you can jump into the airplane and quickly adjust the pedals to the right length. What I'm going to do now is grind off the end of this bolt so it's pretty much flush with the nut, locking off the nuts so they don't come undone.
Alex must work very carefully. One slip could destroy a bit of Spitfire history.
So no pressure or anything. We've had them completely dismantled and replated, so entirely original. So any pilot that flew it would have had their feet on this. But yeah, nice putting back in the airplane.
But the day's not quite done. Peter's had a call from the paint shop at the far end of the airfield. This could make or break his weekend.
The airplane should be back any moment now, and it's fingers crossed that the paint job is correct. If it isn't, there isn't time to redo it. So I'm just a little bit nervous, but I'm confident that it's right. But there's just still that little niggle that, oh my God, what are we going to do if it's wrong?
It's a massive milestone in the build of the aircraft, really, and a big transformation, and it's probably a bit of a spur on to actually achieve the end goal of getting it done in time.
Are you happy with it?
Yeah, it's pretty wicked. Thank you very much for sorting that out. It's great.
No, don't mark the paint.
Have a look.
Of course, Peter's not just the boss, he's also a sworn perfectionist.
It looks good to me. It looks very good, in fact. It's difficult to get the correct finish on this. It's easier if it's glossy, but not so easy to get the correct satin finish, and they've got it. It's perfect.
They look all right.
It looks very good. I'm pleased with that. Very pleased.
The Greek Air Force colours make it unique in the restoration world.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's different. It's going to be a different aeroplane, this is. You're not going to see an aircraft with this paint scheme.
With the Greek roundels on it and all the other bits and the clip wing tips and all the rest of it, it does look cool. It's wicked. Yeah, excited to see it done now. Just got to get on and get an engine on the front of it and all the rest of it, and we're good to go.
But that's for Monday. First, they've got a big weekend to celebrate. Bright and early on Saturday morning, the first of an expected 12,000-strong crowd are queuing at the gates. At the control tower, they've closed the airport to private jets and let the flying circus in. It's a big day for the Spitfire Factory. 2 of their aircraft will lead the big finale to the air displays, and the rest will be shown off out on the tarmac.
The 2 2-seaters are at the front of the hangar because they fly every day, so we're going to get them out of the way, and then move the 2 aircraft that are flying in the display up to the disused runway.
The star of the show will be the Spitfire, closest of all to Peter's heart.
The show will culminate in a single solo display by the Spirit of Kent. It's the first Spitfire restoration that I got involved with as an owner. It was what started this whole heritage hangar concept, and having had to collect every last little part, it means a great deal to me.
The air show will feature planes from all eras, militaria and uniforms, even a few classic cars. But Biggin Hill is most famous as a World War II airfield, so the heroes of the Battle of Britain are very much in the spotlight. And as the Spirit of Kent heads off to the far end of the runway, ready for its display at the end of the day, Peter's 1940 Hurricane, which will also be flying, follows close behind.
The Hurricane goes off into the mist. Beautiful sight. It's just quite high on those legs, but a lovely sight.
The flying circus is underway with a crowd favourite, the Wing Walkers.
It's reminiscent of the barnstorming days of the 1930s. Two very glamorous young ladies who are quite happy to stand on the wing and get buffeted around.
Air circuses became popular after the First World War, when the first manufacturers and airline companies would go to great lengths to wow the crowds. Some even took up members of the public. And when World War II broke out, many aircrew volunteers said their first experience of flying had been with the circus. These days, health and safety is taken a lot more seriously. Pilots must attend a safety briefing and submit detailed plans for their displays.
You have to stick within very tight boundaries in terms of the rules and regulations where we can fly. You're trying to display the aeroplane to its capabilities without actually ever putting yourself anywhere near the limit.
For the Spitfire Factory's display, Don will be leading in the Hurricane, and it's his job to plan the routine.
You've got to have a plan before you get airborne. It's not the sort of thing you're going to basically get in the cockpit and wing it.
We're going to run in from the north, so from the crowd right side, in a three-ship formation, which means there'll be the Hurricane in front, Spitfire on each wing to balance it up, and initially come down the crowd line, down the display line, with a slight curve so that the crowd see the top surfaces of the aeroplanes.
Following behind, Dan's role is simpler, if no easier.
When you're in formation, the only thing that is important in your life is the person that you're following, and you can't afford to take your eye off that person at all. So I can't look in, I can't look at the gauges, I can't do anything. All I can do is get an impression of whether I'm going forward or back or out or in on that person. So if he flew me into the ground, I would fly in with him. It's that serious.
In the second half of their display, Dan will fly solo in the Spirit of Kent.
I very much enjoy display flying because it gives you the chance to manoeuvre an aeroplane perhaps a little bit more interestingly than you would if you're just flying normally. And you have to have a bucket of manoeuvres, as they call it, that's well practiced, and then I string them together as I see fit.
Everything's ready except for one vital ingredient: their third aircraft. A Mark XVI Dutch Spitfire, due to join their display, has been delayed.
It's been trying to get in for the last couple of days, but the weather's been so bad. It's due in 11:40, but from what we've heard, the weather's not good in Holland, so we're still touch and go whether he's going to get in or not.
Without the Dutch Spitfire, the airshow's grand finale will be ruined. Next up on display at the Biggin Hill Airshow is the RAF's Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, one of the Spitfire Factory's maintenance clients.
We've got a Mark V Spit, a Mark II Hurricane, Mark IIC Hurricane and the Lang. And the good thing is all of these aircraft that we watch, we actually at some point, they're all going to pass through our hangar.
Lovely tight turn, look at that. Absolutely rinsing it. God.
With the Lancasters 4, that's 6 Merlin engines in the air.
Here she comes, AB 910, isn't it? That Spitfire there was based at Biggin Hill, wartime, a lot of history. AB 190, absolutely brilliant Spitfire. Mark V, we used to have two then. God.
On days like these, our plane spotters are in their element.
There comes our Hurricane now. The aircraft's got 4 cannon on it. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want.
I love the Hurricane. I love the Hurricane. Dare I say, I love the Hurricane more than the Spitfire. It's just...
It's controversial there, Ray. Here comes the Lancaster. Look at that. Look at that. It is just awesome, that aircraft. Imagine 1,000 of them. The air would actually vibrate with the sound of the engines. 55,000 men were lost. It's testimony to those guys.
Back at the hangar, Peter's got a very different idea of how to enjoy the air show.
Right, time to a bit of a tidy up then. These have just been left here. They have a place, and that's where they live, but it's certainly not on the floor here. When the aircraft are all out, you can see it, to me, it just looks like a bloody mess.
An empty hangar is a chance for Peter to get out his favourite tool. Not a drill or a rivet gun, but this.
I don't mind doing this bit of exercise, and not only that, I know it's being done properly, so and there is absolutely no reason why I shouldn't do it. It's not flying a Spitfire, maybe not as exhilarating, but to me, on a day like this and an opportunity where we can clean the place up, it's more productive.
Watch out, Peter. Bandit at 12 o'clock.
I have seen it. In a few hours' time, we'll be pushing the aeroplanes back in, and then that'll be it again for another year, really.
Of course, cleaning's not the only thing that Peter has on his mind.
And we're not unique in having the only Spitfires here today, because I'm, slightly nervous that it won't be that good a display. We've got other, not competitors, but other guys that could actually better our display, so I just need to keep an eye on it.
Uh-oh, technical problems?
No, it come to a grinding halt. It's broke. I'll have to get the broom out. And a mop, perhaps. Certainly going to wash my hands.
The fun never stops. Out on the airfield, there's some good news.
I've got a feeling it is 885. So, yeah, she's coming from Holland, but the last we heard, the weather was bad over there, so she couldn't get in. So it's great that she's here.
Where again are the...
Ralph Arts has arrived for the display with a Mark IX Spitfire that was restored here 3 years ago.
Yeah, so it's really nice now to be here in Biggin Hill for the air show, especially because the airplane was reconstructed at the Heritage Hangar here. And so it's nice for Peter Monk, the owner of the Heritage Hangar, to see the plane in action this weekend.
So, crowd line,
yep.
There,
yep.
That's where you're cleared to DA.
Yep.
You're going to be on the right-hand side the whole time.
Yep.
Big lazy turnout to come back in on the 45 into the crowd.
Meanwhile, plane spotters Ray and Austin have found some classic American warbirds to fight over.
Oh, P-47, easy, easy. We're not going to argue about
But
it,
I do like the P-51s. I do
we are
like
going
just
to
to
argue
look
about
at them.
Oh, we are. Let's have an argument about it then.
It's, like I say, yeah. But we have to have a look at the P-47. We both agree we need to have a look at them.
Yeah.
Just purely because we want to see the size of the engine.
It's just all American. It's ugly. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's just, and I love it.
Power.
It's just a big
It's an engine
brute.
with wings. I mean, essentially that's all it is. An engine with wings, and the pilot just almost hangs on.
So, which was the best? The P-51 Mustang was a long-range fighter originally commissioned by the RAF.
It's funny, it's a Merlin in that, but they're not the same exhaust, look.
A bit like on the Mark 8.
Yeah.
Look at the Mark 8, they're a lot thinner.
That canopy on that, in combat, that's just perfect, isn't it? Without this aeroplane, the whole bombing campaign for the Americans was going horribly wrong until this thing got over to Germany and got to Berlin and back with them. How a pilot sat on his parachute alone in one of them for 6-7 hours is incredible, really. Very, very different aircraft for the Spitfire, very different use, but very effective.
The designers of the P-47 Thunderbolt took a very different approach.
Look at this. This is the main event, isn't it, this one? Hey.
It is a big old gun, isn't she? She's gorgeous.
The P-47 weighed 8 tons with a monstrous radial engine that dragged it into dives of 550 miles per hour.
Don't you all fight to fly this thing?
Yes.
You do? Excellent. It's something else, isn't it?
I get asked quite a lot what I'd take to war, and I would definitely take a Thunderbolt. And it's literally from there all the way out to there.
I didn't know that.
Of ammunition. I think you would honestly get bored of pulling the trigger before you ran out.
It's just a big lump.
Yep.
And but it's a lovely lump. My favourite American airplane.
Oh no, he's going first. Look at that.
What is that about?
There's a little tad more smoke than half on
That's not very green, is it?
No, not really.
Even the startup's American, isn't it?
Yeah,
Smoke everywhere, too much power.
With a bit of time to spare, Robin is taking Ralph to see one of the original structures of the airfield from World War II.
These were the aircraft pens during the war. This is where they would have put the Spitfires, the Hurricanes, hopefully to prevent them being blasted from enemy attack.
Yeah.
At the back, you have an air raid shelter, and that was for the ground crew who would work on the aircraft here.
Yeah.
The pens were built up to protect the fighters against bomb blasts.
They are what the Spitfires would have been tied down to. Yeah. One either side, still here 70 plus years afterwards, which I think is pretty incredible.
It is.
Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
During the Battle of Britain, 50 aircraft were stationed here, with 150 pilots and hundreds of ground crew and staff. From the 18th of August 1940, the hardest day, the base was attacked 12 times. Crews often had as little as 2 minutes to scramble the planes and dive for cover.
You had them sitting down here until the attack was over, and then out they would go to carry on service in the aircraft. It must have been horrendous. You know, the noise must have been incredible. Even down here, you can hear the echo in here. So if you heard the explosions outside, it would have been amplified in here.
Yeah, Robin, this must be really, really impressive, right? If you just sit here waiting for the attack to be over and then walking outside, checking if your Spitfire is still there and going on with your job like nothing happened.
And get on with the job they did.
Although the airfield was really, really hit very, very badly by the Luftwaffe, it was never not operational out here. All the time throughout all those raids, Biggin Hill remained on the air operational.
It is really impressive.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can hear the volume increasing from the right-hand side. I give you Royal Air Force Typhoon.
So what we ought to do is walk through it. Let's walk through it. Yeah. Happy? Yeah, happy. Okay. Okay, let's go around.
It's time for the dress rehearsal.
So you're going to be on the right,
yep,
and I'm going to be on the left.
Yeah. So right, because we've got them taxing out, let's use that as 2-1. Okay.
So everybody knows what they're doing.
We're going to come round for a top surface. You come with me then?
Yeah, I don't know whether we're taking off.
Top surface flyby. No, we're joining up out there. I'm not worried about takeoff. Okay. Yep. Okay. Top surface flyby.
Yeah.
Round to the end of 2-1, and then a big wide lazy right turn all the way around the back of the tower.
It's the point where the pilots it makes them look a bit foolish, just following each other around in front of the aeroplanes, but they're basically walking through the whole display in their positions.
Up to the back, and back down again.
They all do it. If you look around at the teams here today, you'll all see little gaggles of pilots, and they walk round. It's quite amusing to us, us ground boys.
48 aircraft, from 1930s biplanes to high-performance jets, have now performed. It's time for the final display. Outside the hangar, the whole team is lined up ready to watch.
Wow.
Well, almost the whole team.
Here comes the boss. He looks all right. Yeah, he looks happy.
You're happy?
Oh yeah, we're all good. Good.
We're all happy. We're all happy.
Good.
I've had enough of floor cleaning, so I just thought I'd pop out and see how these guys do.
They take off one at a time and then join in close formation with a couple of simple passes to warm up the crowd.
Each time they go round, that's about another 200 quid out of my pocket. Why don't they just get on with it? Hang on, here they come. Looks quite choppy up there though, you can see them.
Yeah, it is very bouncy.
That looks nice. That's good.
It does look nice, nice and tight.
Yeah.
Dan's tight, rails tight.
It's a proud moment for the team to see all their hard work on display up in the air.
Nice sound to hear 3 Merlins though in the air at one time.
It's quite a picture actually there with the pulling up into the sun and with the silhouette against the clouds.
That's the best view of Spitfire.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Time to move up a gear.
Hey, he's not hanging around, is he? Go on, Don. Go on. Look, that's it. Makes me proud. That makes me bloody proud.
They actually coming round for what we would call a tail chase, which is one aircraft behind the other, but follow my leader basically. It's super, exactly what we want to see.
After 6 minutes, the Hurricane and Dutch Spitfire come into land, leaving the stage clear for the grand finale.
Here comes the Hurricane into land. There he goes.
So we close the show, as we always do, with a solo Spitfire.
So this is the bit everyone looks forward to see Dan really go for it, and he does a really good display in the Spitfire.
Here comes Dan.
Here comes Dan, go on. Go on, Dan.
Dan Griffiths flying Spirit of Kent. Wow.
Super, look at that. Plenty of speed, lots of noise.
Are watching airmanship at its best here. You really are.
I trust Dan, and he looks after the aircraft. He's obviously looking after himself, of course, but no, he does a fantastic display. And to be honest with you, it's the finale to the show, and I couldn't think of anybody else better to do the job.
For a few precious moments, the pressures of running a business are forgotten.
Very competent pilot. And so he flies all the time.
Speed, agility, grace. It's easy to forget that this is a machine of war. But 79 years ago, side by side with the Hurricane, this is the aircraft that won the Battle of Britain.
At the end of Dan's show, he always flies along at about 50 feet, waggles the wings, then pulls up that final victory roll, and he should be coming into land now.
Over the course of the war, 453 aircrew from 11 countries operating out of Biggin Hill lost their lives. But over 1,400 enemy aircraft were shot down. The Spitfire has become the abiding symbol of their sacrifice and of victory.